Are you the manager?
Yes. You need to leave. You need to leave. We're not serving you.
Hold on, guys. Okay.
We do not serve you. Do not speak like
Excuse
that.
me, but you did say that she needs to go back to her country. What kind of
Originally, Native Americans
Excuse
are
me,
from
this
this
is what this
country.
whole world-
White people are not from this country. Don't serve her.
Yeah, you do not serve
Don't
her.
serve
She does
her
not
racist ass.
She is not
You don't tell. No. Continue serving. Continue serving.
You need to leave. You're not a
No,
part
no,
of
no,
this.
no, no.
You need to leave. You're not a
You're
part of
racist.
this. No.
You're racist.
No, you do not
You
come
just
in here
told-
and use the F word and swear and call me a bitch.
I've never even said
I
that
said
word.
she is, and
I've
you're not a
never
part
even
of
said that word.
So
You're
you
making
get out
stuff
of
up
here.
now.
I know. I said
No.
she is, and that's why she's leaving. So
Okay.
you will leave too.
No. This is going all over the internet. You don't know who I am. You told her to go back to her country where she's from.
I didn't even deal with her. That's assault.
Yeah.
You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
Where were you born? Where were you born?
Where were you born,
Where were
bitch?
you
I was
born?
born in America, bitch. Where are your ancestors from?
You're
They're
going-
not from this country.
You're going back to Mexico.
Bitch, you better go back to
Get
where
your
you're
hand off
from.
at me. You
You just walked into
You
her.
just slapped my hand.
Stop it, bitch. You just touched
Oh,
me.
wow,
Oh my
see?
God.
things of that nature. So you define Karen. All right, now let's just talk about privilege at first. So to me, in this particular form, privilege is not having to change your behavior, even though it's a detriment to others. All right, this is why we see these videos.
Y'all catch that? Hold on, I want to make sure people heard the definition of privilege. Say that one more time.
Not having to change your behavior, even though it's a detriment. It's a bad thing for others. Now, you behaving that way is one thing, but it's at the detriment of other people in society. Meaning that basically at the cost.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, of other people. So basically, you have a situation where these women, through, you could call it privilege, you could call it entitlement. There are a number of different terms that you can use, but the main thing is these are women that society has sanctioned their behavior, their whole entire lives, and this this is to the point of the intersection of privilege and the virtue, which is another way of saying like, oh, this woman is supposed to be morally upstanding, morally correct. You know what I mean? So you have a situation where white women feel entitled, white people in general feel entitled to tell, and it could be other white people, it could be black people, it could be other people, period, in general, going on with their everyday lives. They can tell you, because of the sense of entitlement, why are you doing this? Who are you to be doing this? When that's not your job, bitch. That's police, or authority figures. I don't know you from Adam. What gives you the right, the audacity, what I'm saying, to try to tell me what it is that I need to do? And another thing I want to talk about is how basically they weaponize their victimization. They like the way that society makes them a victim. They actually turn that into a weapon, and they wield it. You know what I'm saying? And they wield it with dramatic result, and I mean like bad intent. You know what I'm saying? So I think these are things that when you talk about a Karen, very dangerous, in the manner in which she wields that power, but also, to have knowledge of what it is that you're doing and still wield that power. So you can't, how can you be a victim when you're purposely doing that in a way, like the perfect illustration is There's a lady with a dog. Okay, you're walking your dog is not on the leash. It's supposed to be on the leash. This is privilege and entitlement. You know, and that's one thing. But when someone asks you, a black person asks you, hey, put the dog on the leash because in this section of the park, that's the law.
Right.
Not only do you go off, you say, well, I'm going to call the cops and tell them that a black man is harassing me in a threatening manner.
That's when the weaponizing part comes.
That's when the weaponizing
She knows willingly. She knows exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly.
When she calls the cops.
Exactly.
And she knows that she's going to be believed by what she's saying. She knows there's going to be a sense of urgency that's going to come behind it.
Yes.
And she knows the result that's going to happen once the cop shows up.
Exactly.
She knows she's already at the advantage.
Exactly.
Now, if she put that black man in a position where he has to explain himself.
Yes. Yes.
Right. It's not going to be an equal thing when
no.
Cop's not going to come in and say, hey, hold on now, what happened here?
He's at a disadvantage. He's at a disadvantage.
Right, put him at a disadvantage.
And to wield that in a manner of, you know, to do that and you know that this person could potentially lose their life, lose their freedom, a number of, things that can happen to this man. You're maliciously doing that. You see what I'm saying? See, but again, and the camera now has caught you in the act. You know what I'm saying? And so, to me, when you're caught in that, and this is why a lot of them deny, I'm not racist, this is a single incident, blah, 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 blah. No. What this is a symptom of racism. You see what I'm saying?
That's a good way of putting it.
It's a symptom of racism, and more importantly, and this is what because there are two aspects of it. One I like, the other I don't like. What I like about it is the fact that these people are paying the penalty by losing their jobs, losing, whatever form of economic, social status. Yes, that they have. That shit is.
They're being exposed.
They're being exposed. But see, this is something that. See, all you have to do is change your behavior, and you won't suffer the consequences. See, black people had to deal with this, and there was no behavior change. It was because of your physical. That's something that you can't escape from. So to me, people that, and some people say, oh, it's an overreaction for them to lose their jobs, and to a certain extent, I can understand that, but it's an overreaction for them to losing their jobs. You can't sum a person up to this one moment in time. And in most instances, that's true. But the fact that you're losing now, from that outlook, from that viewpoint, to me, that is very similar to how our ancestors and how some of us lose today. Just off the muscle, from being how you look. Now, the thing with it today is, all you have to do is change your behavior. All you have to do is not be a racist cracker, not be a bigot on camera. You know what I'm saying? And change whatever it is in your mind that makes you think, I have the ability to question this man, and he's a grown adult American man, so-called endowed with the same rights from the Creator that you are endowed with.
From the Constitution.
So what makes it in your mind that you can sit here and tell me, hey, you can't sell water on the sidewalk without a permit? Who the fuck are you? You understand what I'm saying? What gives you the right to do that and say that? What makes you more
endowed?
You see what I'm saying?
What makes you more endowed? Or because, you know what? And like I said, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I can tell you exactly what makes them feel like they're more endowed, because if you really look at it from a technical aspect, the Constitution really does make them more endowed.
It did.
That's the sad part about it. That's the hard reality and the truth that black people
in black and white.
Don't want to hear and don't know. A lot of people don't know that, but what are you, 3/4 of a human being in the Constitution? That was written in the Constitution. So technically, they are more endowed, and that's where they came from. But I want to hear what you got to say about it.
Yeah. So like piggybacking off what you said initially, Rod. It's really lofty that they would actually use that to their advantage. you know, as far as being able to have that right, that you know that when you summon for a figure, that they're going to be swift and there'll be no questions asked. Hey, you're white and you're right. I don't need to ask any other questions. We all know that's not okay, because like you just brought up about laws in the Constitution. But the thing is, with that, within those amendments, and then you say all men are created equal, but that goes back to it. You don't see me as an equal, so
Right.
it doesn't really apply to me really anyway. If you already stated that I'm, 3/4, 3/5 of a human, then you don't see me as a human anyway, so that doesn't apply to me. People of my pigmentation doesn't apply to. Basically, anybody that's not of a Caucasian, European descent, it doesn't apply to them. It doesn't apply to someone who's Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Native American, Mexican, Latino. It doesn't apply to them. You have the belief that we are the true race of people.
Yeah.
And we all know,
Chosen
we all know if we were to really go back into that,
What it really
that's
is.
not actually factual anyway,
Absolutely.
So if anything, it just kind of really duplicitous that you would actually try to malign that whole thought process that, like, hey, you're not only you causing me embarrassment as a man to call the cops on me and people looking out the windows and videoing me seeing my face, and there is so much that does to your physical and your mental. Not to mention being hurt, injured, killed, put in jail, losing work, losing pay, my family worried, scared, frightened. And so it goes back to really, who are you as a person? Because even if you're not racist, those racist tendencies have been passed down, through their lineage, to you.
There's a historical context that is very relevant here. And there are even words, that they use. Now, when a black woman is asserting herself and, taking up for herself, she's a bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she's mean.
She's mean.
Loud.
All of that sapphire.
Negativity attached to it.
Like, it's instant negative thing. When a white woman does this, she has moxie. She has spunk.
Grit. Spunk. That's the word they like to use.
You understand?
She's
Grit.
spunky.
Yeah, she's
Tenacity.
Snarky.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These are words.
She don't take no shit.
She doesn't take nothing from nobody.
That's what I like about Becky.
No
She doesn't take no shit.
Yeah.
These are things that, see, in a historical context, you know what I'm saying? These are ways of making light of bad behavior, of
Acceptable.
even the name Karen, as much as I hate to admit, because Karen identifies an archetype. So that part is good. But the bad part of it is, by you calling it Karen, that it almost becomes socially acceptable. There's no negative connotation.
Right.
Humor behind it, probably.
Very meek and docile.
Yes.
But we get the Tashikas and those rough names that they figure in their culture is edgy.
Yeah.
Of course Bonquisha's acting a damn fool.
Yeah.
But Karen, she's spunky. She tells it like it is.
Yeah.
So
That's bullshit.
even though that name identifies an archetype, a bigot basically, and you have people today that are recognizing that by even calling it Karen, you normalize it in a way to where it's not as, if I said racist bigot, you see what I'm saying? Oh, I'm not a racist. I'm not. Even the lady at Central Park,
Right.
with the dog.
Amy Cooper?
Yeah, Amy Cooper. Amy Cooper. Even her, she's like, oh, I'm not a racist. I'm not a big. When clearly her reaction and clearly the way she responded to the situation, you knew you weaponized your victimhood.
For you to do that, make that phone call that quick,
Yeah,
you knew what you were doing.
bitch, you
Hey.
choking your dog. This nigga's a bird watcher.
Right.
What type of? He's watching
So let
birds.
me ask y'all a question. Do you think that when after these incidents happen, and now it's getting more light and it's coming more to the forefront, should those apologies be acceptable?
I think even whether or not the apology, okay, because some people are going to accept it, some people aren't. The thing that I like about it is that there are tangible there's a tangible effect on your life.
Okay.
You're losing your job usually. You know, your job fires you in a day or two. And see, these are things that black people was dealing with just because of the color of their skin. Your choice is to change your behavior. You know, so for you to lose something, see, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's different now. So when you get caught up in the Karen meme and you get caught up in the Karen culture, even though I feel like calling it Karen, I think trivializes it to a certain extent. But the fact that you are losing something, you're losing a part of your livelihood. Whereas before, you know, to call a nigger, or, you know, whatever. Because there's a lot of historical context in here. You know, even, you know, like one of the things I pulled up was Granny from
Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies. I have a video that I sent you of her basically acting bad, walking around, shooting guns, banging on people's property, talking crazy to people. You know what I mean? But again, that's that intersection of virtue, which, you know, who can't be the one person that can't be,
elderly white lady.
that's the one person who can't be wrong.
She can't be wrong.
She can't. An elderly white woman, you know, and she's clutching her pearls. For her to do that, obviously something else.
She's clutching her pearls. See all these
You see
names
what I'm saying?
and shit they got.
That's what I mean, man. So for us to recognize this behavior now and have consequences for it, I think that's the major thing. Now again, what initially bothered me by calling them Karen, I think that you kind of give them a cop out as opposed to calling her a racist, you know,
Well, she is.
bigot, you know, or you just rate whatever, like calling her what it is that she is. You give her a name like Karen, and it kind of, you know, it deflates it a little bit, kind of trivializes it a little bit.
I'll tell you what makes me mad and probably hurts my feelings the most, or I feel that's most offensive about situations like the Karen thing and the actual video and, you know, like I say, all this stuff that you're bringing up, is that you have people in America in 2020 that still won't acknowledge that there's a such thing as white privilege.
Exactly.
I mean, that is one of the most disrespectful and just terrible things that a black person has. Like, we haven't even come as far for the majority of people to even acknowledge that, hey, we did some foul things to you guys. And because of the way the Constitution was written, the men that was behind the Constitution, and the way the laws were written over years and years and years and decades, that you guys are at a disadvantage. I'll admit to you that we have put you guys at a disadvantage. You got people that will dispute that to this day. And that's so tragic. That's what makes me give up on the hope that America will eventually get to the point where, okay, we can overcome racism. But it's so deeply embedded in the fabric of America.
Niggas can't even acknowledge your story.
You would have to tear down the whole frame, the ideology, everything. It's racism is there. You know, it's just like what's one of the things that is embedded in America? Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
It's like in there with freedom of speech.
The 13.
It's like we have the right of freedom of speech and we got racism. It's like you can't take it out.
Well, no, too, it's right to their own. Excuse me.
Let me say this, because as far as when you talk about things being embedded in the culture, that's why I brought up the Granny thing. I also sent you a video of Thor being slapped by a woman. Now, Thor is supposed to be God. Now, we know he's
Thor the Marvel
thing.
Yeah.
There's a scene in one of the movies where not only is he slapped, but his brother Loki is slapped by a white woman, again, clutching her pearls and being so offended by something.
He took it. Both of them took it.
Yeah, one of them was like, oh, I like this one.
Yeah.
Because she's funky. You see what I'm saying? So there's always that narrative of, you know, and that's what I mean about the intersection of virtue and privilege. You know, and this kind of ties into, you see it, the most, I guess the example to me that in film that started it off was a film called Birth of a Nation.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if you're familiar
D.W. Griffin.
Yeah, if you're familiar with This film was supposedly so good. Not only was it screened at the White House, you know,
This was the first blockbuster in America.
first blockbuster in America, but this film in itself, even today, is considered one of the greatest films ever made. And the main premise of the film is the virtue of white women and the so-called savage, the so-called savage Negro.
Right, and if you're not familiar with the movie Birth of a Nation, we encourage you to check that out, Google it, look on YouTube, just watch a clip or two, and you'll see how racist that movie really is.
Overtly racist. But these, like, the images in that movie is actually what so-called the Ku Klux Klan, the membership to the Ku Klux Klan jumped tremendously after the publishing and, you know, the after this movie was released. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you have a situation again where, I mean, the very first Hollywood movie is tied to the virtue of white women and the so-called savage Negro.
What's crazy, you bring up Birth of a Nation. Okay, so Birth of a Nation came out in 1915.
Yeah. Over 100 years ago.
So, it's 100 years ago now. But look how close that was to America's independence. I mean, you're talking 1915 and what? America's independence was 1776?
1776.
Not that long.
Basically another 100 years.
You're talking, or better yet, not even, don't take it all the way back to the America's independence. Take it back to the Civil War. You're talking, what, 18?
Not even 50 years. Not
You know
even
what I'm
60
saying?
years.
So it's not that far. It's still in people's mind.
Yeah.
And then you come out with a movie like this that sets the tone
Yeah.
for how America's going to conduct themselves when it comes to black people.
Yeah.
He's the villain. He's the monkey. He's the angry, upset, less than.
He's an animal.
And treat him that.
He's
treat him as such.
He's 3/5 of a man, and that's why we can depict him in that manner. And you know, the most powerful tool in their drawer is the ability to depict people. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as through images, as far as through whatever media form that they have at their disposal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, propaganda.
The ability to show, I mean, and this is broadcast worldwide.
Right.
Birth of a Nation. The ability to show the black man as either A, lesser than, B, in some type of subservient position. You know what I'm saying? And C, and probably most importantly, not depicting himself, but being depicted through the words and images of others. The greatest drawbacks to
It's he who controls the
narrative.
Yeah. Can spin it.
If I'm a lion, all right, and you know I gotta eat, you know I'm majestic, you know, but I have to kill gazelle, zebra, deer, whatever it is. I gotta kill that shit. But if I'm telling the story, guess what? I'm a G for doing that.
Yeah. You just eat.
That's all I'm doing.
What the problem is?
What's the problem? But if I'm the zebra, and yeah, nigga, this nigga's trying to. All I'm doing is I'm over here eating grass.
Why is everybody so hard on him? He's just eating.
I'm eating grass. I'm minding my fucking business. Here comes this fucking thing out of nowhere.
Wildebeest.
Takes a bite out of my ass. But guess what? I got 8. So you're not gonna hear my story.
Right.
You're gonna hear the story of the lion, because the lion won.
He won.
He's
He lived to
victorious.
tell the story.
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing of that though, the lion is not the creator. The lion is a result from the creator. And so it's just really crazy how you come from one place over to another, and you pretty much wipe the people off there, and they're the negatives. You're the positive. You weren't doing anything wrong. You brought others over. Did what you did. Like that's why I say ultimately, America won't ever really, until it really lives up to these false ideologies that they put in place ultimately, because you can't, and then that's what it's really frustrating, and it's really sad that you can publicize lies to the media and everybody owns up to it as if it's truth when we have so much truth at our disposal that we can actually research and really break down of what you're doing and what you're saying is not true.
That's what I mean about being able to control the narrative. Like with Emmett Till, the bitch who, excuse me.
No, go ahead. That's okay.
The
Who drinks
woman,
that bitch?
the woman who basically said Emmett Till, you know, and again, this is what I mean about the intersection of virtue and privilege. The woman who said that Emmett Till accosted her with his language, come to find out years later, it was a complete lie.
And what did he supposedly did?
That's all he did.
But again, you're talking about the virtue of a white woman. See, and this is what I mean about the intersection of virtue and privilege. Because the white woman was, you know, black women, you know, all throughout slavery and even after slavery, they had jobs. They dudes a lot of the times didn't have jobs. Or if they did, they, you know, it was like very physical.
Quick question. If the black woman is so much less than, why is she nursing their young?
Not only that, why is it that the black woman who's always had a job, and see, because of the fact that she's always had a job, her view, her vantage point of looking at us is different. It's like, nigga, I can get up and work too. Because the bitch she had to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the white woman who was put on a pedestal, you know, and see, it was really a shell game. Because this is how silly it is. You know, the job is your ability to self-determine what it is that you want to be. Now, they gave that to the black woman because, you know, she's a beast or whatever it is the thought process was in their mind. They gave that to the black woman. And again, that's a leg up on the black man. But the white woman, you're told, oh, you don't have to work. You shouldn't work. You know, all you have to do is just sit there and be pretty. What that really means is, hey, bitch, I'm controlling everything. I'm controlling the situation. I'm controlling the scenario. And if you're not with that, well, I don't know what to tell you. This is why 50% of white women voted for Donald Trump. You know, even though he said, quote unquote, I'll grab him by the pussy. You know what I'm saying? Again, this woman, and this is what I mean about the synthesis of virtue, her virtue, her privilege, and then later her victimhood. Because when black people you know, once the civil rights era began, that's when we had to start acknowledging the victimhood of white women, handicapped people, Hispanics, all these other things. When the only person who was systematically denied everything in society was the black man, and the black woman, the black race in general. When we were, you know, systemically denied these rights and these other things, it's only when that denial is put in the spotlight, that they say, oh, what about white women? What about handicapped women? What about this, that, and the third? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and you know what? A lot of people don't know it either. To his point about the Karen thing, the Karen phenomenon is nothing new.
No, it's not.
They just put a name on it.
That's all.
That's just our generation, interpretation of the Karen thing. But people talk about, especially recently since all the black movement and the new black renaissance, people talk about the Karen thing and the black privilege, whatever. But a lot of people don't know that the Black Wall Street thing that happened, that was a black Karen situation that happened. But the unique thing about that situation, the black Karen thing was forced upon the white girl. Because this started, the Black Wall Street in Tulsa being burned down, started from a young black boy that had to use the bathroom.
There we go.
And because of the times, the black boy couldn't use the bathroom that was right there on the first floor. So he had to go up to the top floor where Negro bathrooms were. So that means he had to take the elevator. And back then, at that time, you had elevator attendants that, hey, come on in, what floor are you going to? And it was a white girl. And in that elevator, of course, during that time, technology wasn't what it is today. Elevators were very janky.
Yeah.
And so that elevator, while they were on there, while this little black boy was on there, and there was a little white girl, teenage white girl that was elevator attendant. That elevator jarred while they were going up, and he fell kind of over onto her, like, oh shit, you know, damn, the elevator jarred. She hollered out of just, oh my God, you know, she's thinking this elevator's about to go down, it's about to malfunction, whatever. She hollered, and he stepped back and he was like, you know, basically like, is everybody okay or whatever? But he knew that by this white girl hollering, it's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be a problem.
So in fear, as soon as that elevator door opened, he ran out of there, and he ran out of that building, and he got the hell out of Dodge. But of course, by then, white people had heard this white girl's yell, and the yell of a white woman, even back then, was, "What's wrong? Stop everything. What happened?"
Virtue
Yeah.
and privilege.
And they asked her, and they questioned her, "What happened on that elevator? Did he do something to you?" And she said, no. She said, no, he didn't do anything. The elevator jarred. You know, he kind of fell on me or whatever. We was just startled. You sure? Are you sure that's what happened? She said, yeah, that's exactly what happened. They pressed her to the point, and she never did say that he did anything, but they took it upon themselves, a militia, and they would track that boy down. And that's how the whole Black Wall Street thing got burned down.
And again, the reason for tracking her down, this is what's the cold part about the whole thing. You know, she's, you know, supposedly on the pedestal and all of that, but at the same time, she's a prisoner to that. So it's like, oh, you don't even know what's going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How you feel isn't even valid.
Right.
This is a black man and he did this, that, and the third. You just don't even understand.
When he
what's
fell
going
on you, did he grab your titty?
Yeah.
No, he didn't grab my titty, Jed. Are you sure he didn't grab your ass? It was like one of those intimidation things, like, you know what? You're young. You don't know no better.
Yeah.
We'll take it
I'm
from
sure that's
you.
what he did. You just don't know it.
And they got together and they had a militia together, and it started spreading, and they burned down everything in that city. The whole thing of black people didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
Nope.
They came because it just gave them a reason to do what they want to do, because they were already jealous of the progress that these black people had made in this town. They had their own businesses, they were successful, they were happy, they had their own communities, their banks and restaurants. They didn't like that shit.
Right.
Because why? You don't deserve that.
Who
You
are you?
you go in the back of the store.
Who are you as 3/5 of a human being? Who are you as something lesser than?
Yeah.
To
And
create this
even-
in our society.
The killing part about it to me is the vast majority of white people that are here, they didn't get here. They weren't here even by the Civil War. These motherfuckers came later on. They came with the hope and promise of what America is. But
Get your slice of the pie.
No, he's speaking the truth right there. That's very critical what he's saying.
us is who we are. We've been here, niggas, since the beginning. And even if we wasn't, we said our people, our identities have been sacrificed in the name of America.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You can talk about, oh, well, you know, I was a Scottish this, I was a European. Nigga, there's none of that. Our identities were sacrificed to the point of, nigga, making this nation what it is today. So if you want to talk about somebody who's a true American and a true patriot, it is us.
That's nothing to brag on.
That is our
Because
birthright.
if you go back, and I encourage every black person to study the speakings and the
Any
speeches
person.
and the films or whatever of Dr. Claude Anderson.
Yeah.
He speaks a lot of truth, because the narrative has been painted that people from all over the world, from Europe and Spain, wherever, they came over here to America for the pursuit of happiness and truth and the freedom of speech and all that. That's bullshit.
Belongs.
They came over here because of the entitlement.
Yeah.
Saying, it's a new land. Me and you come over here, we discovered this new land, and we're looking like, man, look at all these acres and acres and
Nobody was
acres.
there.
But we have to cultivate this land. We got to make this into something. Yes, beautiful, but it's nothing if we don't build stores, restaurants, hospitals, and all these things. So you need to recruit people to come over here to do these things. So you have to incentivize, which they still do today.
Yeah.
You know, when they create neighborhoods and stuff, they create incentive. Because you're saying, why should I come over there? I'm good where I'm at. Why should I come to that neighborhood? Oh, if you come over here, we'll give you a tax credit.
Yeah.
If you come over here, we got this, we got this. So that's what Americans did to discover. People that came over, whites that came over to America back then, they had to figure out a way to incentivize people around the world to come here. So they promised them stuff. If you come here, we'll give you so many acres. If you come here, you got the right to have so many slaves. You got this, you got that. So they came over here. Well, that sounds like a good deal. So let me get on this boat and let me go to America. And they show you that video of people on these boats packed to the brim, and they look at the Statue of Liberty. America! America! Yeah, it's like, oh, the land of the free. No, the land of, hey, what the hell y'all gonna give me? I'm here now.
Yeah.
All right, come on in. We're gonna give you this. We're gonna give you this. That's where that 3 acres. What is it? 40 acres and a mule and all that type of stuff. So why did they feel the need to promise black people something once they were free? Because they had already done that with all the other people.
Yeah.
Why they just didn't say, okay, you're free. You can go do what you need to do. They used an incentive to say, hey, we're gonna give you 40 acres and a mule, meaning that to free you and not give you options or anything to resources is nothing. And that's what we're fighting for today. If you don't, that's why you have ghettos and slums and projects, because you're taking the resources away from people.
Yeah.
When you put people in a country and you don't give them any resources, they just dead. They're nothing to society.
Yeah.
If I can't go to the bank and get a loan, if I can't go get a job, if I can't provide for my family, I'm no good to society. So that's what black people are still fighting for today. It's just an equal right to say, give me a loan.
You cut off every avenue of, legitimate ways of, being involved in society. You've cut off every avenue, and not only have you cut off every avenue, you segregated them in a certain part of town, and you redlined them. You don't allow them to get loans. You don't allow
they can't
them,
live in certain places.
You don't allow them to the American dream and the American experience. You basically
you stole it.
You stole, but you do it in a way. You dress it up in a way to where laws. I'm not talking about just like, hey, person not fucking with me, but literally through the law, like you sanctioned. This has been sanctioned.
Yeah.
By the actual government, and different ruling aspects of our society. You sanction their discrimination. You sanction their ability to say, hey, you know what? I don't give a fuck what type of job you have. You're what? No, nigga, you can't live in this neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute. Before we move past that and go too fast, that's critical what you just said. And to a lot of white people that's out there that's wondering, why are black people rioting? Why are black people marching? Why are black people tearing down statues and stuff like that? That's critical of what you just said. It's one thing to say, Jay, you don't like me because I'm black.
Yeah.
And on the job site, you treated me a certain way, and that could be my opinion.
Yeah.
I could be misinterpreting why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But when you go as far as to legislate something, to put it in law, to say this is the law of the land, you cannot live here. You cannot drink out of this water fountain. You cannot come through this front door. That exposes everything. Yeah. So for a white person, even in 2020, to walk around and dismiss a black person's claim about it not being fair, it's not, you guys treated us a certain way, whatever. To dismiss that, when we have, you can't dispute that. That's law.
Law.
We can go back as far as we want to go. That was the law of the land.
Legally
so it says to me too.
Legally binding.
It shows the level of hatred that white people had for black people at one time. It's one thing to treat you a certain way on an individual level.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you know what?
Come on, right.
When Jaheem come over here tomorrow, we're gonna let him ride in the back of the truck. We're gonna ride inside.
Yeah.
But to say, you know what? The law is you gotta ride in the back of the truck. You can't. That's some cold, a premeditated, malicious shit right there. And to fast forward to 2020, to sit up here and try to dismiss and say, oh, why black people complaining? Why black people all up in arms? You got equal rights. You got this or whatever.
Hey, you had President Obama.
You had President Obama.
What the fuck are you complaining about?
They don't want to acknowledge the fact that if you wouldn't have done this back then, maybe great-great-grandma would have had this.
Exactly.
Maybe great-great-grandpa would have established this. It's easy to sit on a pedestal 40 to 100 years later and say,
And talk that
my
shit.
great-grandfather came from Ireland, pulled himself up
By his bootstraps.
started his own business,
I
and
swear to God,
he
that's
had
it.
nothing in his way.
Yeah.
He had no law. I'm not talking about, oh, well, people in America, they wasn't too keen on Irish people back then. That's different from not being too keen on something than something being the law.
Yeah. Very true.
Because if you can search around, this bank manager over here is not too keen on Irish people, but guess what? You have the ability to go to the next bank, and the next bank,
You
until
can
you
still
find
get 'em
somebody
You can still get 'em
that's open to Irish people. But when you have the law, it's like a person saying, I don't even agree with, black brother. I don't even agree. I think you would make an excellent businessman.
No matter.
But
I can't. By law, I can't grant you this loan.
Yeah.
I can't let you in that community. That's some cold, premeditated shit. So when they ask us why we acting a fool,
It's a whole
that's
different.
why.
It's a whole different.